Ethan's boots crunched against the alien soil, each step sending tiny clouds of silvered dust into the thin atmosphere. The sky above was a swirling mix of dark purple and green, and two suns shone dimly through the thick, mist-like clouds. The planet, designated Zythera 7, had been marked as uninhabited. Yet as Ethan explored, he felt a strange tension in the air. It wasn't just the quiet or the odd bioluminescent plants that pulsed in rhythm like living lanterns. It was something watching him, something alive and aware. He had been separated from his crew for nearly an hour. A wrong turn in a winding cavern system had left him disoriented, and his communicator crackled only static. The other three were probably scanning the nearby plains for him. But without a clear signal, Ethan was alone. Vulnerable. He knew the protocols: stay calm, conserve energy, and avoid drawing attention. But instinct told him that wasn't enough. A sudden rustle came from the tall grass that glowed faintly in the dark. Ethan froze. The movement was subtle, almost fluid. Yet he could feel the intent behind it. His heart hammered in his chest. He was trained for alien encounters, but this felt different. Something predatory, intelligent. He slowly reached for his sidearm, though part of him doubted it would help. From the shadows, a figure emerged. She was humanoid, slender, and eerily graceful. Her skin shimmered faintly like polished obsidian, and her eyes glowed amber in the dim light. Her long hair moved as if underwater, and the faint hum of energy seemed to radiate from her. She wasn't just watching him, she was assessing him, calculating him. Ethan swallowed hard. I come in peace," he said, keeping his voice steady. The words sounded hollow even to him. The alien girl tilted her head, a curious expression crossing her face. Without warning, she leapt toward him with impossible speed. Ethan barely had time to react, raising his arm to block her. She was strong, far stronger than any human. And he felt the wind of her movement push him off balance. Then, she bit. Pain exploded in his neck, sharp and deep. Everything went red around the edges, and the world tilted. Ethan's body fell backward, hitting the ground hard. He expected darkness, expected death, but instead, he felt warmth, not just in his body, but inside him, spreading like liquid fire through every nerve. And then, nothing. When he opened his eyes, he wasn't where he had fallen. The world around him was blurred, colors and shapes bending in ways that made no sense. He could feel every motion, every pulse of life, not just his own, but hers. He was inside her, inside the alien girl who had attacked him. Panic surged. What's happening? His thoughts bounced around like a trapped bird. He tried to move his limbs, but there was no separate body. He was her. And yet, he was himself. The sensation was overwhelming. He could feel her heartbeat, her breathing, even her thoughts in flashes. It was not violent, but it was foreign, alien, and intoxicating. Every instinct, every emotion she experienced coursed through him. He realized she hadn't killed him. She had shared her body, merged with him in some way he didn't understand. As he struggled to make sense of the experience, he felt a presence outside a shadow moving across the glowing landscape. Another predator? His human instincts screamed at him to flee, but he could barely control the movements. He had to learn quickly, had to adapt, or risk being consumed by the unknown forces around him. The alien girl's body reacted instinctively. He moved silently, slipping through the underbrush like liquid shadow. The creature outside was fast, but not as fast as her. Ethan marveled at the strength, the fluid grace. Even inside her, he could sense a fierce intelligence guiding every action. Hours passed, or was it minutes? Time seemed distorted inside her consciousness. Ethan learned to control the body in bursts, moving with a precision his own muscles could never achieve. He discovered he could sense the environment in ways humans could not. Vibrations in the soil, subtle shifts in air pressure, the faint traces of life left by other creatures. Every sense was amplified, and yet there was a constant pull toward her instincts, her desires, her need to survive, her hunger. Eventually, the alien girl stopped near a cluster of tall, crystalline plants. Ethan could feel her curiosity, her wariness, the way she calculated threats and opportunities simultaneously. He realized this wasn't mindless predation. She was intelligent, thinking in ways he could barely grasp, and she had saved him not out of mercy, but because their merging was necessary, a form of survival he had no frame of reference for. For the first time, Ethan could communicate internally, not with words, but with impulses and emotions. He tried to project calm, to signal understanding, to bridge the divide between human and alien. The alien girl, Lyra, he decided to call her in, his mind responded subtly, curiosity flickering through the haze of merged consciousness. They moved together, Ethan learning to anticipate her reflexes while influencing her choices with his human logic. They encountered strange creatures, some harmless, some deadly, that roamed the glowing plains of Zythera 7. Each encounter was a lesson in survival. Forcing Ethan to adapt quickly, his human ingenuity began to complement Lyra's natural instincts. He found ways to manipulate the environment, to set traps or distract predators, saving them both multiple times. Through this, he began to understand a vital truth. Humanity's strength wasn't just in physical prowess. It was in creativity, problem-solving, empathy, and courage. These were traits that even a predator alien species, honed for millennia in a harsh world, could not replicate. He began to influence Lyra subtly, guiding her to make choices that favored strategy over instinct, showing her the value of human thought in life or death situations. Night fell, or what passed for night on a planet with two suns. The bioluminescent flora lit the landscape in soft purples and greens, creating an otherworldly forest of light. Ethan felt a strange bond forming with Lyra. He didn't know if she felt it consciously, but the merging of their minds allowed a connection that transcended language. It was mutual awareness, mutual survival, and, unexpectedly, mutual respect. Yet danger was never far. The landscape pulsed with life, and not all life was benign. A massive creature, unlike anything Ethan had ever seen, emerged from the shadows, drawn by the scent of life. Its form was grotesque yet beautiful. A perfect predator built to hunt and kill with efficiency. Lyra's body reacted instantly, preparing to strike. But Ethan intervened with a calculated move. Using his human understanding of patterns and movement, he guided Lyra to use the environment to their advantage, luring the creature into a trap among the crystalline plants. The plan worked, and the predator was trapped, thrashing but unable to reach them. Ethan realized then that this symbiosis was more than survival. It was an opportunity to combine the best of two species, the raw strength and instincts of Lyra, and the strategic thinking and ingenuity of a human. He began to see possibilities he had never imagined, opportunities to not just survive, but to turn the odds in their favor in a world that seemed designed to kill them. As they moved deeper into the alien terrain, Ethan felt a strange sense of calm. The fear that had gripped him when he first woke inside Lyra's body had transformed into determination. He was not just a victim, he was a partner, and together, they were learning the rules of a dangerous new world. Ethan wondered what awaited them. He knew this was only the beginning. The planet held secrets, threats, and mysteries, far beyond his comprehension. Yet he felt a surge of hope, human hope, stubborn and unyielding. They would face whatever came next, not with brute force alone, but with courage, intelligence, and the unbreakable will that defined humanity. Somewhere deep inside Lyra, he sensed a flicker of awareness, acknowledgement, maybe even gratitude. And in that moment, Ethan understood that survival wasn't about dominance, it was about adaptation, cooperation, and the courage to face the unknown without surrendering to fear. The night stretched on, stars and glowing flora casting an eerie glow. Ethan and Lyra moved together, predator and human, alien and human, bound in a fragile but growing partnership. And for the first time since the fangs had pierced his neck, he did not feel like a victim. He felt like a survivor, And perhaps, just perhaps, something more. He didn't know what awaited beyond the next ridge, or what dangers lurked in the bioluminescent forest. But one thing was certain. He had been given a chance to fight back, to prove that even in the most alien and terrifying circumstances, human courage, intelligence, and ingenuity could make a difference, and Ethan intended to use it. Ethan felt the alien world in ways he had never imagined. Inside Lyra's body, every heartbeat, every muscle twitch, every pulse of energy was magnified. At first, it was disorienting. He stumbled, misjudged leaps, and collided with strange, glowing plants. But slowly, he began to learn. He learned to anticipate her reflexes, to guide her movements with a thought or an impulse. The symbiosis between human and alien was delicate, but it worked. Together, they were faster, sharper, and far more aware than any single being could be. Lyra moved silently through the alien forest, her body gliding over the crystalline terrain. Ethan had begun to understand her senses, the faint scent of predators, the vibrations of hidden prey, and even the faint electromagnetic currents that pulsed through the plants themselves. Everything was heightened. But he also realized that he could influence her instincts. A nudge here, a pause there, and he could change the outcome of their actions. They were not alone. The alien world was teeming with life, much of it predatory. Strange creatures slithered through the undergrowth, their bodies translucent and segmented, moving with uncanny speed. Others flew above, their wings humming with energy, eyes that glowed like twin suns. Ethan could feel their approach before they were even visible. It was terrifying and exhilarating. The first encounter had been a lesson. The next one would test them. A creature, larger than any they had seen, appeared from behind a cluster of towering, phosphorescent trees. Its body was armored, jagged plates covering its limbs, and its multiple eyes tracked them with precision. Lyra tensed instinctively, ready to strike. But Ethan intervened. Wait, he thought, projecting calm, strategic intent. We can use the terrain, Lyra's body responded, slowing her approach. Together, they circled the creature, luring it toward a patch of sharp crystalline spikes that jutted from the ground. The creature followed, overconfident and relentless. When it reached the trap, it stumbled, impaled itself partially on the jagged crystals. It roared, a sound that shook the ground and sent vibrations through Ethan's body. But they had survived, and Ethan realized something crucial. Human reasoning, combined with Lyra's strength and reflexes, could manipulate even the deadliest predator. After the encounter, Ethan felt a surge of confidence. He and Lyra rested near a stream of glowing liquid that pulsed like blood. The alien forest around them shimmered softly, a calm after the storm. He felt her awareness, her curiosity, even her doubt. But for the first time, he sensed respect. She had survived for centuries relying on instinct alone. Now, she was learning to trust human strategy. Ethan began experimenting with communication. Words were useless inside her body, but emotions, impulses, and subtle mental cues could be shared. He projected calm, focus, and patience, and slowly Lyra responded. Her movements became less reactive, more thoughtful. She began to anticipate his suggestions, allowing him to guide her subtly during encounters. It was a partnership, awkward, strange, but growing stronger with each passing hour. As they explored further, Ethan began to perceive the planet's ecosystem on a deeper level. He realized that predators were not mindless killers. They were survivors, perfectly adapted to the harsh environment. Lyra's species had evolved to be the ultimate hunters, relying on instinct, speed, and reflex. But there were gaps, weaknesses that human intelligence could exploit. He pointed these out internally, and together they began to navigate the planet with increasing efficiency. Days, or what passed for days, blurred together. Ethan lost track of time, yet he felt himself changing. Inside Lyra, he could act faster, see farther, and sense danger before it arrived. But more importantly, he was learning to think like a human inside an alien predator. He could make choices, anticipate consequences, and plan several steps ahead. Lyra's instincts provided raw power. His mind provided strategy. Together, they were formidable. One evening, they encountered another member of Lyra's species. A smaller, more cautious figure emerged from the shadows, eyes wide with recognition and suspicion. Ethan could feel the tension radiating from Lyra's body. She tensed, ready to strike, but he intervened with a subtle mental nudge. He projected calm, non-threatening intent. The smaller alien studied them carefully. Then, slowly, it approached. Cautious but curious. Ethan realized this was a turning point. He was not just surviving anymore. He was influencing the world around him, guiding interactions that could shape the future of Lyra's species. His human traits, caution, empathy, strategy, were making a difference in ways instinct alone could not. The smaller alien, after a tense moment, accepted their presence and led them to a hidden enclave. It was a settlement, carved into the crystal formations, shimmering softly in the ambient light. Inside, dozens of aliens moved with grace and purpose, their eyes reflecting centuries of survival. Ethan could feel their curiosity and wariness, and he sensed that Lyra's connection to him was helping to calm them. He observed their society structured, disciplined, and instinct-driven. Yet there was no sign of creativity, planning, or moral choice. Decisions were made through dominance and survival instinct. Ethan realized how different humans were. They could think ahead, reason, and choose not just what was strongest, but what was right. He felt a surge of pride and determination. If he could help Lyra and her people, he could show that humanity had value beyond brute force. The days that followed were filled with training and adaptation. Ethan learned to move seamlessly through Lyra's body, balancing her instincts with his strategic thinking. He experimented with hunting techniques, finding ways to combine human ingenuity with alien reflexes. They became hunters and protectors, navigating the alien landscape with confidence and precision. Ethan also began to explore the limits of the symbiosis. He discovered that he could influence Lyra's perceptions, redirect her focus, and even calm her impulses. This was both empowering and terrifying. If he pushed too hard, he might damage her consciousness. If he hesitated, they could be overwhelmed by predators. He had to learn balance, patience, and trust both in himself and in Lyra. One day, while scouting the perimeter of the settlement, Ethan sensed something unusual. A ripple in the air, a faint vibration under the crystalline soil. He projected caution, and Lyra responded instinctively, hiding in the shadows. From the undergrowth emerged a massive predator, larger and more intelligent than any they had faced. Its eyes glowed with an eerie red light, and it moved with calculated purpose. As if it had been tracking them for days, Ethan's heart raced, but his mind remained calm. He guided Lyra toward a narrow canyon, using the terrain to their advantage. The predator followed, relentless, but they were prepared. Ethan devised a plan, combining Lyra's strength with environmental traps. As the creature lunged, they dodged and led it into a natural pit, where it fell with a deafening crash. They had survived, but barely. After the encounter, Ethan felt the weight of the planet pressing on him. The threats were constant, the dangers unimaginable. Yet he also felt a sense of empowerment. He was making a difference. His human traits, caution, intelligence, creativity, were not weaknesses in this alien world. They were strengths that could shape outcomes, save lives, and influence even a species driven entirely by instinct. As night fell over Scifi 7, the settlement glowed softly under the light of twin moons. Ethan and Lyra rested together, their bond stronger than ever. He could feel her awareness of him, a quiet acknowledgement of trust and cooperation. They were no longer predator and prey. They were partners. Ethan reflected on how far they had come. When he had first been bitten, he had expected death. Instead, He had been given a chance to survive, to influence, to grow, and he had discovered something extraordinary. Humanity's true strength was not in brute force, but in the mind, in courage, and in the capacity to make choices. Even in the face of overwhelming odds, Lyra shifted beside him, her thoughts aligning subtly with his. He felt her curiosity, her wariness, and a new sense of understanding. Together, they were learning to navigate a world that had once seemed impossible to survive. Together, they were proving that even the most alien environment could be overcome by ingenuity, strategy, and determination. The symbiosis was no longer frightening. It was empowering. And Ethan knew that the next challenges would be greater, the threats deadlier. Yet he also knew that they were ready. He was not just a survivor, he was a human inside an alien predator, capable of guiding, influencing, and creating outcomes that instinct alone could not. The alien night stretched before them, glowing flora casting long, eerie shadows. Ethan and Lyra moved forward together, predators in their own right, but guided by a uniquely human mind. And deep inside him, he felt hope, a stubborn, unyielding spark that no alien world, no predator, and no challenge could extinguish. Humanity had survived on countless worlds before. On this strange, alien planet, they would survive again, not through strength alone, but through courage, intelligence, and the unshakable will to endure. Ethan had been given a second chance, and he intended to use it fully. As they disappeared into the phosphorescent forest, Ethan sensed that this was only the beginning. The alien world was full of mysteries, dangers, and wonders beyond imagination. But he was ready, and for the first time, he truly felt the power of being human and the extraordinary things that humanity could accomplish, even in a body not their own. Ethan had grown accustomed to the alien world, yet nothing could have prepared him for the news the smaller alien brought. The settlement's elders communicated through subtle vibrations, pulses in the crystalline ground that Ethan felt through Lyra's body. He interpreted their meaning as best he could. Their species was under threat. A larger, more organized predator, a hive-like collective, was moving across the plains, hunting, consuming, and enslaving weaker species. Entire enclaves had been destroyed, leaving nothing but silence and death. Lyra stiffened at the news. Her instincts screamed to attack immediately, to strike with brute force. But Ethan felt the danger in a new way. "Wait," he projected to her. "We can plan. We can outthink them." It was the first time he consciously tried to influence her instincts for a strategic purpose rather than survival. Lyra's body hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty passing through her mind. Ethan encouraged patience, projecting calm and confidence. Slowly, she relaxed. Together, they would lead not just themselves, but the entire settlement, against a predator far stronger than any they had encountered. Over the next hours, Ethan and Lyra scouted the surrounding plains. They moved like shadows across the glowing terrain, using the bioluminescent plants and jagged crystal formations to conceal their approach. Ethan studied the hive predator's patterns, noticing its reliance on overwhelming numbers and instinctual coordination. It was smart, but it lacked individual reasoning and foresight, the kind of thinking that humans excel at. "They rely on strength and instinct," Ethan projected. "We rely on thought. We can use that." Lyra's movements became measured, precise. She learned to trust his judgments, combining her natural reflexes with human strategy. They set traps in narrow canyons and deep pits, luring smaller scouts into ambushes and avoiding direct confrontations where possible. Ethan showed Lyra how to manipulate the terrain, to create distractions and decoys that could confuse even a predator with heightened senses. Back in the settlement, Ethan guided the aliens in subtle ways. He could not communicate in words, but impulses and gentle suggestions worked surprisingly well. The alien inhabitants began to follow Lyra with greater coordination, relying on strategy as much as instinct. It was awkward at first, but gradually, their natural power combined with human-influenced tactics became formidable. Days passed in preparation. Ethan observed the hive predator from a distance, noting its patterns and weaknesses. It attacked with relentless precision, yet it always followed a predictable rhythm. Using Lyra's body, he rehearsed maneuvers, simulated attacks, and tested traps. Each time, they refined the plan, making adjustments that even the alien elders had never considered. Finally, the day of confrontation arrived. The hive predator moved across the plains in its organized, terrifying wave, consuming all in its path. Ethan and Lyra positioned themselves at a strategic point where the terrain favored them. Narrow canyons funneled the predators, crystal formations could be used as barriers, and hidden pits offered traps. The smaller aliens took their positions under Ethan's guidance, forming a coordinated force that relied not just on instinct but on careful planning. The first wave of attackers approached. Lyra's body moved like lightning, her instincts guided by Ethan's strategic mind. She dodged attacks, striking only when it was necessary, channeling the force of the alien predator against its own kind. Ethan guided her, calculating trajectories, predicting movement, and exploiting weaknesses. Each maneuver was precise, deadly, and deliberate. The smaller aliens followed her lead, moving with a coordination previously unseen. Predators that relied solely on brute force fell into traps, impaled on crystal spikes or funneled into narrow passages where their size became a disadvantage. Ethan felt a surge of pride. Human ingenuity was turning the tide, giving a species that had survived on instinct alone a chance to fight back. The hive predator adjusted, sensing the unusual tactics. Its scouts were destroyed with clever diversions, forcing the main body to advance cautiously. Ethan sensed the tension through Lyra's body, the sharp awareness of imminent danger. Yet he remained calm, projecting strategic patience. They could win, but only if they remained disciplined and adaptable. The battle escalated. The hive predator sent larger, more formidable creatures forward, each one more dangerous than the last. Lyra's body moved with precision, dodging and striking in perfect synchrony with Ethan's mental guidance. Together, they used the environment to their advantage, collapsing crystal formations to block paths, creating narrow choke points, and using light and shadow to disorient the attackers. Ethan noticed something remarkable. The alien species began to evolve their tactics in real time. Under his guidance, they learned to anticipate attacks, set traps, and protect weaker members. Humanity's influence was spreading, not through domination, but through teaching and subtle leadership. He realized this was the essence of human strength, the ability to observe, reason, and influence outcomes through intelligence and courage. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. The battlefield was a blur of movement, strategy, and survival. Predators fell one by one, trapped or defeated, unable to adapt to the combined human-alien tactics. Ethan's mind was working constantly, calculating probabilities, predicting movement, and directing Lyra with precision. He could feel her growing trust, her instincts aligning with his strategy. Together, they were unstoppable. Finally, the hive predator's leader approached a massive creature, larger than anything Ethan had faced. Its body was armored, its multiple eyes focused and intelligent. It moved with a purpose, a threat unlike the scattered waves before. Lyra's instincts screamed to attack immediately, to strike with full force. Ethan intervened. "Wait," he projected. "We can outthink it." He guided Lyra to lure the creature into a narrow canyon, using a combination of speed, agility, and terrain manipulation. The hive predator followed, confident in its strength but unaware of the trap. Ethan coordinated the smaller aliens, directing them to push falling crystals and create obstructions. Lyra's body moved with perfect execution, dodging attacks and striking when necessary to maintain control of the battlefield. The creature roared, thrashing and powerful, but it was trapped. Ethan guided Lyra to apply pressure at precise points, forcing the predator deeper into the canyon where natural spikes and obstacles immobilized it. Finally, with one coordinated push from the smaller aliens and Lyra's precise strikes, the hive leader was defeated. Its body collapsed, and the battlefield fell silent. Ethan felt exhaustion through Lyra's body, yet he also felt triumph. The strategy had worked. Human reasoning, combined with alien instinct and strength, had overcome a predator far stronger than any single being. The smaller aliens approached cautiously, their eyes wide with awe and respect. They had witnessed something new: intelligence combined with strength, patience combined with courage, strategy combined with instinct. Lyra's body relaxed, and Ethan projected calm and relief. He sensed her awareness of what had been accomplished. They had survived. And more importantly, they had won. Not through raw power alone, but through the uniquely human ability to think, plan, and adapt. Humanity's strength had shown in the most alien of circumstances, proving that even the fiercest predators could be outsmarted with courage, intelligence, and ingenuity. The aftermath was sobering. The battlefield was littered with remnants of the fallen predators, the glowing plains scarred by the struggle. Yet, there was hope. The smaller aliens began to rebuild. Inspired by what they had witnessed, under Ethan's subtle guidance, they learned to combine instinct with strategy, preparing for future threats. Humanity's influence had changed them, giving them tools they had never known existed. As night fell, twin moons casting long shadows across the plains, Ethan and Lyra moved toward the settlement. The elders acknowledged them, not in words, but through subtle vibrations of approval and respect. Ethan felt a deep sense of accomplishment. He had faced a threat far beyond human or alien strength alone, and he had survived not by force, but by using the mind, courage, and empathy. Inside Lyra's consciousness, he felt her recognition. It was not simple gratitude. It was understanding, respect, and an acknowledgement that survival required more than instinct. It required intelligence, collaboration, and the ability to make choices that others could not. Humanity had proven its worth. Ethan reflected on the journey. From the moment Lyra's fangs had pierced his neck, he had been thrust into a world of danger, alien landscapes, and predatory instincts. Yet, he had adapted, survived, and thrived. He had shown that humans were more than fragile bodies. They were thinkers, leaders, and survivors. Even in a body that was not his own, even on a world designed to kill, he had made a difference. The night stretched on, the glowing flora casting soft light across the terrain. Ethan and Lyra moved silently, their bond stronger than ever. The hive predator was defeated, but he knew that the universe was vast, and threats would always arise. Yet he also knew that humans, with courage, intelligence, and determination, could face anything. Ethan felt hope, stubborn and unyielding. Deep within him, he had been given a second chance, not just to survive, but to lead, to teach, and to prove the strength of humanity, and he would not waste it. The alien world, dangerous and beautiful, was theirs to navigate. And Ethan, human and survivor, would guide them through it with intelligence, courage, and the unwavering will to endure. He was not just inside Lyra's body anymore. He was a human mind, shaping outcomes, influencing a species, and proving that even in the darkest, most alien places, humanity could shine. The glow of Zythera 7's twin moons bathed the crystalline landscape in soft, silver light. The air was still, the aftermath of the battle lingering like a heavy fog. Ethan felt the quiet in Lyra's body, the subtle pulse of her awareness settling after the chaos. They had survived, they had won, but he knew this was not the end. The hive predator was gone, but the universe held countless threats, each more unpredictable than the last. Yet there was something different now: hope. Humanity's ingenuity, courage, and resilience had not only saved them, it had inspired an entire species. Lyra moved beside Ethan, the subtle vibrations of her thoughts blending with his own. He could feel her awareness of him growing stronger, a silent recognition of partnership and trust. They were no longer merely predator and human. They were allies. And together, they had accomplished something extraordinary. The smaller aliens of the settlement approached cautiously, their luminescent eyes reflecting a mix of curiosity and respect. Ethan projected calm, guiding Lyra to show restraint and assurance. Through the delicate connection between their minds, Ethan realized he could influence more than just immediate actions. He could inspire. He could teach, he began showing Lyra how to coordinate with her people in ways they had never done before. Subtle mental nudges, impulses, and shared awareness allowed him to guide their movements, organize defenses, and even plan for long-term survival. It was not domination, but partnership. The alien species responded with remarkable adaptability. They had relied on instinct for generations, but with guidance, they could anticipate threats, coordinate strategies, and protect their vulnerable members. Ethan felt a surge of pride. Human traits, reasoning, foresight, empathy, were making a tangible difference. Humanity's power was not in brute strength alone, but in the ability to think, plan, and act with intelligence and purpose. Days passed, and the settlement began to rebuild. Structures damaged in the battle were repaired, patrols were organized, and food sources were secured. Ethan continued to guide Lyra, showing her new ways to use her abilities in coordination with her people. He taught her to observe patterns in predators, predict outcomes, and communicate intentions clearly. Each lesson strengthened the bond between them and demonstrated that humans could lead not just by force, but by knowledge and insight. One morning, Ethan sensed a shift in the environment, a subtle vibration in the ground, an energy signature he recognized as intelligence. A scout from another alien species, previously unknown, had approached. Its presence was cautious, almost hesitant, yet Ethan sensed potential danger. He projected calm and curiosity through Lyra, guiding her body to approach carefully without aggression. The alien observed them silently, its multifaceted eyes reflecting light like liquid gemstones. Ethan guided Lyra to project non-threatening signals, sharing awareness and intent. Slowly, the scout relaxed, and Ethan realized that this encounter could lead to a new alliance. He began teaching Lyra how to extend their influence, not through dominance, but through understanding and communication. Humanity's strength lay in connection, in seeing potential allies where others saw threats. Lyra's people began to watch, learning from her behavior. They saw that strength was more than physical power. It was intelligence, patience, empathy, and strategy. Ethan felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had taken a predator and shown her a new way to interact with the world, a way that combined instinct with thought, power with wisdom. The days continued with training and exploration. Ethan learned more about Lyra's species, their history, and their biology. They had survived countless threats, yet they had never known foresight, moral choice, or cooperative strategy beyond instinct. Through him, they were discovering these qualities. Every hunt, every defense exercise, every interaction became a lesson in the value of human traits. One evening, while observing the horizon, Ethan sensed a distant threat, a massive predator approaching from beyond the plains. Its energy signature was unlike any they had faced before. Intelligent, adaptive, and relentless. Ethan knew that brute force alone would not suffice. This time, he would have to lead not only Lyra, but her entire species, using every ounce of human ingenuity. He projected calm to Lyra, sharing plans and strategies through the subtle connection of their minds. She understood, aligning her instincts with his reasoning. Together, they organized the smaller aliens, assigning roles, setting traps, and preparing for a coordinated defense. Ethan felt the thrill of strategy, the pulse of anticipation. For the first time, he realized that human intellect could guide not only survival, but victory on a scale previously unimaginable. The massive predator arrived, moving like a shadow across the glowing plains. Its size and speed were terrifying, yet Ethan remained composed. He guided Lyra to lead it into a series of traps, using terrain, light, and sound to manipulate its movements. The smaller aliens executed their roles with precision, each action coordinated through Ethan's subtle influence. It was a symphony of instinct and strategy, power and intellect. The predator lunged, testing their defenses, but Ethan anticipated its movements. Lyra's body reacted with lightning speed, striking and dodging under his guidance. The predator's attacks were relentless, yet the combined force of alien instinct and human strategy proved effective. It fell into a trap. immobilized by sharp crystal formations. And Ethan guided Lyra to neutralize it with calculated precision. Victory was achieved without unnecessary risk, a testament to the power of foresight and planning. Afterward, the settlement celebrated not with frivolity, but with a quiet acknowledgement of achievement. The elders approached, communicating respect and gratitude through vibrations. Ethan felt the significance of the moment. Humans had shown that intelligence, courage, and moral choice could not only survive, but thrive in the most alien of environments. Humanity's influence had reshaped the destiny of an entire species. Lyra's awareness shifted, a subtle recognition passing through her consciousness. Ethan sensed her gratitude and respect, not merely for survival, but for the partnership they had formed. She had learned that instinct alone was not enough, and he had learned that courage, empathy, and ingenuity could transcend the limitations of the body. Together, they had forged a bond that would endure beyond the immediate danger. As night fell, Ethan reflected on the journey. He had been thrust into an alien body, faced unimaginable threats, and discovered that the core of human strength lay in the mind and heart. Survival was no longer a matter of instinct or power alone. It was the ability to think, to reason, and to act with purpose. Humanity had proven its worth not through domination, but through guidance, strategy, and courage. Lyra moved beside him, their connection stronger than ever. Ethan felt a profound sense of partnership, understanding that their bond had reshaped the settlement's future. Together, they had taught a species that had relied solely on instinct to see the value of foresight, coordination, and empathy. Human traits had illuminated a path for an alien species, proving that intelligence and courage could alter the course of survival. In the following days, Ethan continued to guide Lyra and her people. They established routines, defenses, and exploration protocols that incorporated human reasoning and strategy. Every action reinforced the lessons he had taught, and he observed with satisfaction as Lyra's species began to adapt, combining instinct with intellect. Humanity's influence had become a force for stability, resilience, and growth. Ethan also reflected on the personal transformation he had undergone. He had faced fear, pain, and uncertainty, yet he had discovered the depth of human resilience. Even in the body of an alien predator, he had found ways to lead, to teach, and to inspire. The experience had reinforced the core truth he had always known. Humans were remarkable, not because of strength alone, but because of courage, creativity, and the capacity to make choices in the face of overwhelming odds. The settlement flourished under their guidance. Alien predators that once dominated the plains were deterred by new strategies and defenses. The smaller aliens became more confident, more capable, and more coordinated. Ethan's influence had not erased their instincts. It had enhanced them, creating a hybrid of intuition and reason that made them stronger than ever. Lyra's awareness of him remained constant, a reminder of the bond that had formed through shared struggle. Ethan felt a quiet pride, knowing that he had contributed to something greater than survival. Humanity had left its mark not through conquest, but through intelligence, courage, and partnership. One evening, as the twin moons rose high above the plains, Ethan projected a sense of calm and hope through Lyra. The alien settlement had achieved stability. The predators had been deterred, and the species had begun to evolve in ways previously impossible. He realized that their journey was far from over, yet he also knew that humanity's influence had created a foundation for future success. Ethan smiled inwardly. From the moment Lyra's fangs had pierced his neck, he had been given a chance to survive and to lead. He had transformed fear into courage, instinct into strategy, and survival into triumph. Human traits, intelligence, empathy, and creativity had reshaped an alien world, proving that even in the most unfamiliar and hostile environments, humans could make a difference. As night settled over Scifi 7, Ethan felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had faced death, merged with an alien predator, and guided an entire species to safety and growth. Humanity's influence had been profound, demonstrating that the mind and heart were as powerful as any physical strength. Lyra's presence beside him was reassuring, a constant reminder of the bond forged through shared trials. Together, they had navigated a world of danger, learned to trust and cooperate, and emerged stronger than either could have been alone. Ethan realized that this partnership symbolized the essence of humanity itself: the courage to face the unknown, the intelligence to solve impossible problems, and the empathy to guide and protect others. As the first light of the twin suns began to touch the horizon, Ethan felt a sense of hope and anticipation. The alien world of Zythera 7 was no longer a place of fear and uncertainty. It had become a testament to the power of human intellect, courage, and moral choice. Humanity had endured, influenced, and triumphed, not through domination, but through understanding, strategy, and partnership. Ethan knew that the future held more challenges, more unknown threats, and more mysteries. Yet he also knew that humans were equipped to face them. Courage, intelligence, and resilience would continue to guide them, ensuring survival and growth in a universe filled with dangers and wonders alike. For the first time since the fangs had pierced his neck, Ethan felt not fear, but purpose. He had become more than a survivor. He had become a symbol of humanity's potential, the ability to endure, adapt, and inspire even in the most alien and perilous circumstances. And as he stood with Lyra, watching the twin suns rise over the glowing plains, he understood that humanity had not only survived, humanity had shone.